Can I bring it back to modern day a bit? Because there's a question I wanted to ask. Something that's always shocked me historically on a grand scale is like how quickly we went from America drops 2 bombs on Japan to, if you flash forward 50, 60 years, like in the 90s, America and Japan are probably 2 of the closest allies in the world. They're 2 deeply intertwined cultural and government aid. It's like a crazy thing that this could have changed that way so quickly. Like a generation is apart. I wanted to hear about, because you mentioned this recent thing with Takaichi and Trump getting closer, and there's a good sentiment there, but what was the stance in Japan around, especially during the Ishiba times, the surprise Trump tariffs? You know, there's a sense on the American side that we are alienating some allies, that we are pushing people away. What was that like on the Japan side?
I mean,
I'm sure it's different opinions all about it.
On the Japan side, it's always, Trump is sort of like a national emergency, and we need to respond by trying to get him to like us as much as possible. The tariffs, obviously nobody likes the tariffs, but they need to get a deal that is good enough that Japan is getting the lowest tariffs of anybody. But Trump is just seen as like basically like a natural disaster that needs to be addressed. And if the prime minister screws up on their first meeting with Trump, then that is like seen as like, oh,
it's like their fault more than his, though.
It's playing Sim City, and then it's like an earthquake is entering your city. It's like a Trump has entered again.
The drop-down menu, you pick like volcano or Trump.
Yeah, like when right before Ishiba, when he became prime minister, the last guy, he hadn't met Trump yet for a few months. And everybody's like, why hasn't he met Trump? Is it because Trump doesn't like him? Does Trump know that like Ishiba and Abe were like rivals who didn't like each other? I bet that's why. I bet that he's gonna, when he sees Trump, he's gonna choke. He's gonna choke. And then Ishiba meets Trump, and his game plan, he has the same interpreter that Abe used, the same guy that Trump knows. He calls him, I think, the little prime minister or something like that. The same Japanese interpreter, and he just glazes Trump. You know, he just like, you know, oh, you're great, you're amazing. Like, yeah, I see you're making America great again, and I want to help you by like having jobs. And I am from a rural area that is struggling, just like Vice President Vance, and like they're on like, they just don't want a repeat of the Zelensky sofa incident, right? So that terrified, I think, Japanese diplomats. Like, oh man, like what if we have a situation where Trump just goes off the rails and just is like, why aren't you saying thank you to us? Like, yeah, you're not dressed well enough. And like, oh, of course the Japanese wear neckties, but I mean, still.
That's crazy, though.
Like the Zelensky thing, I think, was a big sign that Trump 2.0 is not the same as Trump 1.0. So you really have to praise him even more and present him with gifts.
I guess I want to understand why someone like Takaichi, or this general attitude of like, let's not get on America's bad side, doesn't apply to an equally or near equally big economic giant like China, where she seems more willing to be able to kind of piss off China with this Taiwan comment. Because I assume the trade between U.S. and Japan and China and Japan are similar. I can't.
Yes, it's a major trading partner for Japan. Japan gets, you know, stuff like rare earth metals from China. It needs the Chinese market. It needs Chinese tourists. But nationalistic Japanese, I was just like looking at some Twitter posts on the way over here. You know, people are like, next step, we should just break off all diplomatic relations with China. Hell yeah! Like China, we hate China. Like China's bad. Like they're the evil empire. And like 70-80% of Japanese have a negative view of China because China is, you know, an aggressive, undemocratic country that is doing bad things and is saying bad things about Japan, while also telling Japan to apologize again for things Japan did 80 plus years ago, and telling young people in Japan who have nothing to do with what happened 80 years ago to feel responsibility for that. And I think anybody in any country, no matter what their age, should know their country's history and know that their country has done bad things and good things in the past. But I just think that them seeing it coming from China, it feels like, why is this authoritarian state telling us that we're the bad ones for something that happened way before my grandparents were born for a lot of these students? So
I'm curious, like, it sounds that the average Japanese person has a much more positive view of America and the current global climate than China. And that's surprising, given that, again, we've talked about this natural disaster of a leader that we have. And I've often wondered at how crappy it must feel in another part of the world to have America just swing wildly every 4 years with total unpredictability. And this is happening again. And so is there more going on there besides that sort of history? Do you feel like that might change anytime soon? I guess I'm confused at how, even with Trump's attitude towards the rest of the world, that still we're seen that much more positively.
Well, I think if you polled Japanese people about Trump himself, they would probably have a negative view. I think 70% wanted Harris to win the election. But Japan needs America. It needs it more than anything, really. If you are to continue the foreign policy track, which is not being absorbed as a satellite of China or becoming a pro-China country, if it wants to be a part of the liberal democratic West and resist the rise of China, it can't do it without America's help. It cannot defeat China militarily. It needs the Americans. It needs their bases. And so it is a huge crisis to have a president who talks about they're not spending enough. I don't think we should protect them, or abandoning Ukraine and stuff like that. That's like Japanese wonder, well, what if America has a president who just thinks like, who cares if some small islands in Japan get invaded by China? Like, I'm not going to send our army and start World War III over that shit. I mean, so Japanese have this anxiety about requiring American protection from China, but they still like America as a country. It's just the anxiety from a president who might not protect Japan is very real.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, they love LA, they love Ohtani.
I know they love LA.
We know they love Ohtani. Mural's like 10 feet from my building.
You go to Dodgers, I swear, if you go to a Dodgers game right now, like 1 in 4 people there is Japanese. It's crazy.
I went to a game in Baltimore a couple months ago to watch Ohtani. And there was so many Japanese people there in Baltimore. They must have flown in because there are not that many Japanese people in Maryland. But they were all sitting around my wife and all. I can hear lots of people speaking Japanese. And so, a couple of years ago, I saw Ohtani in Philadelphia, and tons of Japanese people came to that game. They're traveling across the country to see their national hero. I mean, everybody loves Ohtani. I was walking here, and there was a stationery store that had a sign up that said, special sale that because Ohtani won the MVP award.
That's awesome.
The NL MVP sale.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I was wondering, with what we're talking about right now, what beyond little things, like there seems to be some anti-immigrant or racism within Japan in regards to Chinese tourists or Chinese people that have moved here. But what is the dislike of China grounded in? I know that a lot of countries around China, for instance, have territorial disputes, a lot of Southeast Asian countries having difficulties in the South China Sea. So what is Japan's geopolitical issue or fear with China? Is it that you're literally going to be attacked one day? Is it a security concern? Is it the actions that they've taken against the country?
Yes. I mean, they are afraid they will be attacked one day. There is a set of islands or rocks, basically, the Senkaku Islands, that are controlled by Japan. They're uninhabited, and they're right near, sort of close to some outer lying islands of Japan that are populated, and also...
Oh, they're tiny.
Yeah, they're tiny little things. They're kind of close to Taiwan, Okinawa, and mainland China. And so Japan has controlled these since the 1890s, I believe. And China has been aggressively sending patrol boats to patrol its own territory. And the Japanese send their patrol boats to respond to the Chinese boats, and they just kind of go around each other saying, this is our territory. Get out of here now. This is our territory. Get out.
Just with bullhorns, right? Is it the ones where they kind of nudge each other and have the water cannons, or is that?
Thank God, not yet.
Okay.
That's what happens. The
Philippines
has reached that level of escalation, and Japan is actually helping the Philippines. They're building boats for the Philippine Coast Guard to use. It's called not ODA, but OSA, Official Security Assistance. So they're helping with those disputes as well. So these boats go back and forth, and this happens almost every day of the year.
Wild.
And Japanese fishing boats that go to that area will provoke even more Chinese boats to come out. And so the Japanese government tries to discourage fishermen from going there, even though it's Japanese territory. That also angers nationalists. What the hell? You can't even fish. I mean, there were these guys connected to the YouTubers I wrote about where they caught fish there, and then they made a point of serving it as sushi to various LDP lawmakers in the National Diet Building. And they also had a restaurant in Tokyo that collabed with them where you can go and have a special menu and have Senkaku Island sushi. I didn't go because I think it was the pandemic at the time, and I was in a different area of Tokyo, and it was pretty expensive, to be honest. But I would have wanted to, though. So these islands are a potential flashpoint for World War III, because if China does try to get them, America is treaty bound to defend Japanese territory, or territory administered by Japan. The security treaty says that. And Japan will expect America to back it up there. And Trump, I think the Trump administration has confirmed that they will. But you never know. I mean, the Trump administration really changes its mind quite often. And also Taiwan, the Taiwan issue, if Taiwan is invaded and America responds, where do you think those American troops are going to be coming from? They're coming from Okinawa. They're coming from, Yokosuka, and they're coming from like Atsugi and other bases in Japan. And so when the Chinese respond with missiles, they're going to be hitting Japan, hitting Okinawa to take out those Americans. Japanese people will die in such an exchange. It is very true that Japan would be probably dragged into a war over Taiwan if it happened. And this is the nightmare scenario that nobody wants, that Takeichi, brought up.
Said it out loud.
Yeah, said the quiet part out loud. Yeah. I mean, she's not wrong for saying that. Everybody knew that's what's going to happen, but it creates this issue where China needs to save face by doing something in response.
That has to be incredibly anxiety-inducing. I just really hadn't thought about this. Of course not. But man, if you're Japanese, like it really must feel like this is an existential worry and threat. Like, man,
especially as China gets more and more powerful and goes around their weight more often.
And there's also the fear that China is rising, but it's also facing a demographic crisis of its own.
Yeah.
So it might feel like it needs to strike before it starts getting weaker. People have written books and articles about this, that growing China thing, it's going to peak. And when it sees that it's stopped peaking, they're going to want to roll the dice on Taiwan, or they'll never have a chance ever again.
Sure.
And that's a scary possibility. Hopefully it'll never happen. If it does, then I'm pretty sure this studio and myself will be obliterated by nuclear weapons or something.
Okay.
You heard it on Lemonade Stand
So
first.
I wanted
we have a bit of a curse. We shouldn't joke about
These figures will be melted by the fire.
this is dark. I don't like this.
Rengoku.
I did want to come back to